Hey, I'm Mitch.
And I'm Greg, and this is Sidenote.
A podcast where every episode we tell stories about and then debate a controversial topic.
And then we research and splice in all the mind-blowing shiznit throughout so you are entertained while simultaneously learning. Today, we are going to be going back through our first year of the Sidenote podcast and highlighting what you guys have told us were your favorite parts of the year. And Rachel is going to guide us through it. And Rachel's right here. I'm looking at her right now.
Hello.
Hi. So when did we start this podcast? We started this year.
We started on a Wednesday, May 9th, 2018.
The air was crisp.
Was it?
Oh, yeah. Beautiful day. It was a beautiful day because it was the beginning of Sidenote. Of course it was.
It has been so exciting to work on this podcast and also to see it evolve. Like, we've changed it quite a bit since back then. So.
If you listen to the first marijuana episode, it is actually different. We didn't have a debate section, which we hope you like, but we feel like it's evolved it.
Mm-hmm.
Our stories were a lot more loose. It wasn't like, here are the stories. We didn't have a comment section.
No.
Wait, what did we even do?
I did this weird middle section with like the history of marijuana in Canada and had all this like old-timey music.
I liked it though, and you were like, Trudeau, not that Trudeau.
Oh,
or like,
yeah.
not the dreamy Trudeau. But I like those. Like, we can still do those, I think.
Oh, you're right. That's true. So let us know also what you like. 2019, new year, maybe new us.
Oh, of course, new us. Are you kidding me? I reset every year and I just evolve. I'm like a Pokemon. You do too. Everyone glows up, right?
Yeah, no. I love that. That's
I'm
true.
saying this before the New Year's, but I'm like so excited about it. But then it comes and then you're like, but I'm still eating the same and not doing anything. And then you start to feel sad. I'm excited right now, you know? So what was the first clip that people decided that they wanted highlighted on this end of the year compilation?
The first clip comes from our scary movie episode.
Halloween.
And it's a story of Mitch going through sleep paralysis.
Oh, God.
And I have never experienced that. It sounds horrifying.
Yeah, I've never experienced it personally, but I've experienced by sleeping beside him. And it's crazy. It's honestly crazy. He like screams all the time, but he's sleeping.
Oh.
It's so weird.
Oh. Do you sleep with earplugs?
Yeah, fully. Yeah.
Or
I
are
do.
you supportive through it and you wake
But like
up
I
and-
don't, the earplugs don't work when he like shoots out of bed, as he says in the story, and goes like, the bastard's gonna. It's so wild.
Okay, so we're going to roll the tape for that right now.
Today we are talking about scary movies.
Ooh, a little Halloween episode.
Oh. I guess this is coming out on Halloween. So for my story, I want to tell like a very scary experience that I've had in my life. It's not from a movie, but I just thought it was like worth telling. And it is that I used to go to Florida a lot. So my family would
That is scary.
terrifying. That's the end of my story. We'd show up in Florida. My grandparents would go for a part of the year as they got older, so they had a house there.
What are they called? Snowbirds?
Yeah, something like
in
that.
In Canada,
yeah.
it's when older people escape to Florida / Arizona.
Because it can be kind of dangerous for elderly people to be on
in the
slippery
snow.
ice, or like it's harder on their bones and stuff like that.
Winter
so
is a nightmare.
they loved going there. Went down there most years when we were young, and one year, because a lot of us would be in this house, I was sleeping on the pull-out couch. And in the middle of the night, I woke up and I could hear my little brother crying in the other room.
Creepy.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, that's weird. But then I heard my mom get up out of her room and go to the room.
How old was your brother? I'm picturing him now. I'm like, he cries?
No, yeah, I don't know. He must have been under 10, and I was probably like 14 or something. I honestly don't remember what age I was. So I hear her go, and then I hear her get really concerned, and so I start getting a little bit scared because I'm like, what's going on? So I start looking around, and then I look at the end of my bed, and there's literally a shadow in the shape of a man standing at the end of my bed. And so my heart starts racing because I'm young and I'm trying to look. It's so dark. I'm like, is that my brother or my dad, or is that something weird going on? And then
you're in Florida, might I say.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know how many robberies are here. I'm 14 in Florida. I'm really scared.
Guns everywhere.
Guns everywhere. But yeah, then suddenly I realize I cannot move. I'm literally paralyzed.
Oh, you have that thing?
This this demon at the end of my bed literally comes onto my bed, reveals his form as some scary man, and sits on my chest.
Like that famous painting, The Nightmare.
Literally, and I'm trying to scream for help, knowing my mom and brother are just in the other room, awake.
Ew.
And I'm going trying to scream so bad, and then all of a sudden, gone. And now I'm awake. So I guess I was experiencing
sleep paralysis
mixed with a night terror, which I then went on in my life to have many night terrors, which you know.
Yes, Mitch will shoot out of bed and be like, the bus is coming, and like scream, and I'll be like, like what the F? Like it was a lot.
Yeah, I remember.
Worse.
Yeah, I don't have it very often
I feel like
anymore.
you haven't but you, oh my God, it was horrifying. You would sleepwalk. You would.
I don't sleepwalk that often, but I like.
Well,
get
you've gotten
up
out of your bed and been like,
stuff.
yeah.
And often, like, I remember, it's not like I forget. So, like, that bus example, I was in bed with Greg, and I remember waking up and seeing a city bus in our room, but it made sense. And I was like, oh, we have to get on the bus. And then you went, like, what? And then I woke up and everything disappeared, and I was, like, so embarrassed that I was like, nothing.
And didn't you once when you were like staying at my parents' house, like scream like
yes,
like
oh my God,
murder?
like I won't. This will be short, but I literally woke up, thought I was trapped in an iceberg. The first time I ever like slept at Greg's parents, was like slapping the walls trying to get out, like yelling. And I was like this. Then I woke up.
And then in
the
morning you were like, did you guys by any chance hear screaming and like crawling and like scraping on the walls? And we were like, anyway. Oh, okay, good. You did. No, we didn't hear it.
Okay, good.
You were safe.
But yes, night terrors. It's not fun.
I'm surprised you ever even go to sleep.
Truly.
This holiday season, a lot of us will be drinking, which reminds us of our alcohol episode in which Greg tells literally such a wild story. It involves neon, it involves celebrity, it involves crime. Let's go.
Okay, so one of the times in my life where I think I was really drunk again. Okay, let's paint the scene. It's 2008. Okay, so like art kids have moved on.
Is it like what's 2008 like Kesha TikTok? Is that the right time?
Well, I was at an MIA concert.
Okay,
Kanye West Stronger. Okay. That's like what it was. Work it was like this is literally like it was literally like art kids used to love indie music like Arcade Fire. Now they've moved on to like Daft Punk and Kanye West. There's like neon everywhere.
Okay,
so it's like that's what the hip kids were doing. That's what I was doing. I was wearing a shirt this night that was pink and it said "Made in the '80s." Like disgusting. Like I cannot believe that I wore that shirt.
You also used to have those stupid Kanye West sunglasses that had like the
oh my God, the shades
in
front. Oh God,
yeah.
ew. Okay.
Okay, so where are you though?
I'm down in Toronto, like near the oh God, it used to be called Cool House. It's not there anymore.
Okay.
But I was at an MIA concert. Also, I wore my parents' cross-country ski boots to this concert because they had hints of neon.
No.
Yes, and all of my friends
like without the skis.
Without the skis, because they were like gray with neon.
I hate you.
I know, and I was trying to fit in because all my friends like worked at American Apparel, and I was like, okay, me too. I'm cool too. Horrible idea. I ended up kicking a photographer who this is a different story, but he like fell to the ground and then he like posted
because you were wearing ski
boots and they had the metal thing at the front, and I like hurt his shin, and I was in his art exhibit later and he had written loser on my face. Anyway, separate story. That's like it's a great story. So I'm leaving the MIA concert so drunk, very drunk.
Yes.
And there's this crowd gathering in front of a club, and like I'm like, what's happening? I get into the crowd. They sort of split the crowd in two, and all these people go to one side, and I and a few other people go to this other side. And this black SUV pulls up, and Paris Hilton gets out like right beside me, and I don't really particularly like Paris Hilton that much, but I knew her catchphrase, and I grabbed her around the neck and was like, say I'm hot, say I'm hot.
Oh my God.
And she was like, you're hot. And I was just like,
you're hot.
Like I was like so excited. Okay,
why didn't someone pull you off, or were people around her?
I don't know. It was there was lots of people. There was no security guard. And then also there's a CBC like Canadian documentary about Paris Hilton's influence at the time, and literally it goes like, and she has crazy fans, and it cuts to a clip of me grabbing her, screaming. You can look it up. There's a photo. Yeah. I'm screaming, and it's like, she has crazy fans. I literally like never watched a Simple Life. I'm not a fan, but it like I am the typical fan in my Made in the '80s pink shirt, like losing like white gay,
a famous person
losing
and
my
freaked
shit.
Out.
Yeah, and I was like clearly gay that it like I fit the bill. Anyways, she goes inside. Everything dies down. I'm so drunk with my friend, so full of confidence, feeling so good. And her black SUV is there, and like no one's paying attention. I'm like, oh my God, Leah, like let's just break into her car.
No.
So we open the door and we get into Paris Hilton's car.
Wait, it was unlocked?
It was unlocked. It
just
was
sitting
so
there
weird.
with
just
no one
there,
around.
Unlocked. So me and Aaliyah, my friend, get in the car. We're screaming. The song is playing. You had a bad day. You take a one down.
I just picture that's like what she had on repeat the whole ride there.
I have no idea. And I'm like panicking and like so excited and just like sitting in Paris Hilton's car. I pick up this thick like wad of paper, and it's a script for the movie that she's filming, House of Wax. So she's filming House of Wax in Toronto. The script's in the car, and I'm like going through it. We're laughing so hard. Then my friend starts to scream.
So that movie hadn't been made yet, but it has been made now.
So yeah, it's been made. Oh yeah. Oh my God, have you not seen House of Wax?
I've never seen it.
It's so funny. She gets murdered in like the most hilarious way. It's a really bad, kitschy horror film. But it all added up. So then, like, my friend screams, and I'm like, oh my God, like, we're getting booked by the Po, like, we're fucked. But I'm drunk, so I'm just like, whatever, like, white privilege, I'm free. Like, it's totally gonna be okay. So we run, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm being chased. Like, I'm so scared. And like, my friend's screaming. I'm like, this is so bad. We broke into her car. Then I realized that my friend's screams are like joyous. And she like looks at me, and she stole her Christian Dior sunglasses. And I still have them.
That's where those came from.
Yeah. So like, my friend stole Paris Hilton's Christian Dior sunglasses out of her car. Drunk. This is what alcohol can do. And then we were so drunk too that we went back to see what was up. And people were unscrewing the license plate of the SUV. Like, what? I know. And I'm like, no one was stopping anything.
That makes no sense. Is that worth something? Like, dude,
I think people were just like trolling her. I think it was that weird time where she was just so famous,
that
and
people
were like
to mess with her.
And also, but everyone was so wasted because it was
why
like
was
there
not security by the car?
No.
Was this a parking lot, or they literally just parked in the middle?
It was right. It was like she parked in front of the club. I bet that she didn't plan to stay there very long. It was like, this is the car. I don't know why their driver didn't stay in there. Anyways, this is the power of alcohol, because that kind of that could never do that now.
That's hot. 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 This is hot. That's hot.
This clip comes from our second ever live show, and the topic was musicals. We had an absolutely dreamy guest, Henry Kapersky, and he breaks down the music in Wicked, and it literally blew everyone's mind. The audio is a little fuzzy, but believe me, it is worth it.
But wait, can you play something for me?
Okay, yes. So,
play more for us.
So, in every great musical, the theme of transformation is huge. And the most transformative element is water, right? So composers often use these watery sounds in music to evoke transformation. Like in Beauty and the Beast, the theme for the Beast is right, and it's very watery, and because he's gonna change later into a prince of
while
light.
It's raining.
While it's exactly, see. Yes.
Raining leitmotifs, late means lights.
Or in another very musical show about someone that wants to change.
Under the sea?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not the song, but she is under the... What?
What?
Little Mermaid. Come on.
Was that Beauty and the Beast?
No, that was Little Mermaid.
Okay.
That's why I said under the sea.
Okay, oh my God,
She's a mermaid. She wants to be a human. But what she really wants to do is transform into who she truly is inside, you know? So in Wicked, my favorite part of the score is the transformation theme, and you hear it throughout the score like this. Right?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
So watery. Okay. Yes, exactly. So let's sing it together. Let's sing it. Unlimited. My future is unlimited. So let me sing that just alone really quick, with no...
He's like, Mitch, if you could... I just want to have him...
I meant without the accompaniment.
Oh, I've never seen anyone say that to you.
No. Mitch, you got to be here for this part.
I'm sorry, it's okay.
No, to prep you, I'm going to blow your mind right now. No, I meant without the piano. So it's going to unlimited, my future is. So let me just change the rhythm, which means where the notes land. Now let me here. I'll change the rhythm now.
Whoa!
Oh my God!
Stephen Schwartz, when he was coming up for his anthem of transformation for Elphaba, took Dorothy's anthem from The Wizard of Oz, changed the rhythm, and put it over this watery sound. Somewhere
I'm getting shivers.
the rainbow. That is why music theater is better than everything else in the world.
Wow.
Oh my God.
And here's another little fun one. You know the song Loathing from Wicked? It's like, loathing, unadulterated loathing. Yeah. So they go, every little thing. Da, 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 da. Let me change the rhythm.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Who told you this?
I'm a nerd.
I'm like,
no,
I feel like cheated that I didn't know these things.
I know, isn't that fun?
That's so good.
Amazing.
So Leonard Bernstein was right. Stephen Schwartz was a genius.
Yes, he absolutely was. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like my breath has been taken from me.
I feel like my breath was taken from me. What a line, Mitch. I really don't blame you. We were really all smitten by Henry. So now, next clip comes from our astrology app. Greg used to be a camp counselor, and he used to do palm readings for the kids. Take a listen.
I used to work at a camp called Bayview Glen. Plug. They're not sponsoring this. Imagine this is sponsored by a day camp. And so it was a day camp where I worked for a summer, and I remember they made me teach gymnastics, which was weird because I've never taught gymnastics, but the kids were so young that it was really actually fun. And at one point I had to teach dance, which I also didn't have any experience with. But
Are you sure they weren't just like, you're gay, you can teach dance,
always,
right?
yes. I also went to another camp where I was literally good at kayaking. Like, I'm not gonna brag, but like I'm really good at kayaking, and they literally would be like, you're head of arts and crafts. I'm like, are you serious? I've literally never made a craft in my life. I'm like, okay. And these kids would like be burning themselves on candles. I'm like, I don't know how to do this, but okay. Anyways, moving on. Oh, yeah. Also, at that other camp where I taught gymnastics, they made me teach dance. Again, homophobic. But what I did for that class or that course is when they'd come, I turned all the lights off. Arts and crafts, they had to make fake IDs. And they would come into the club, and I'd like blast music, and all these kids would dance like on tables, and I'd give them water as like drinks, and they'd like party. And it went over really well. I got like a smoke machine, and like everyone was like, he's a really campground store. I'm like, we're literally just pretending we're partying. Anyways.
That's really fun. I wish I did that as a kid.
Yeah, so there was like a fair day or something, and I had to figure out a booth, and I was so hungover, and I was like, okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna palm read. And so I like
you just spur of the moment were like,
well, it's a camp.
I'm gonna palm read.
It's a camp. It's like
today.
I was like, what can I do? I'm so hungover. I don't want to move. I don't want to like try and figure out materials.
Going to palm read.
So I like put a table and like literally like a blanket over the table, so they'd have to come in under this table, so it was dark. And my friend Brian, who literally also does not care about like this camp at all, was like, can I palm read too? I'm like, fine. So these kids and counselors would come in, and I'd be like, okay, this line is like your lifeline, and this line is your wealth line, and like I just kind of made up the lines a little bit.
Okay.
And I would just go for it. Like I would just be like,
Right.
I'd be like, you, for the kids, whatever, but for the people who were tweens, I'd be like, you must like have a weird school life this year. Like, were you bullied? And they'd be like, I was bullied. Like it literally, like they would like start like tearing up sometimes, and then it became like known around the camp that I was like palm reading really well, and people started to like line up for my little thing, and it kind of made me realize like this is actually like BS. Like I'm literally making this up, and there is some way that people are spinning it.
There's literally like 30 kids in Toronto who the course of their life has been defined by what you told them. They were like, but my palm reader said that I should follow the finance because my line was really long for finance, and now they're frigging.
And I was like, again, I didn't care that much about this job, and the lifeline one, I'd be like, honey, you got till 30. Like I'd be like, you're gonna die young, and they'd be like, oh my god, really? And I'd be like, yeah, you might want to like go to Mount Everest base camp sooner than you think. Like
that is so awful.
But I just really hope that they knew I was kidding, because I was kind of like really playing.
That's famous last words of every psychic. I just hope they knew I was kidding. Right? I know they paid $400 for this, but I hope they know I was kidding.
So 2018 has really been the year where we are seeing that climate change is not theoretical. It's happening right now. Massive storms, drought, wildfires. So instead of debating whether climate change exists, because clearly it does, Mitch and Greg did a go off where they break down the latest IPCC report.
Yeah, so I think what we should talk about first is the IPCC report, because that's sort of the reason that we started to want to make this episode, and it's in the news a lot lately, which is very important.
Yeah, okay. So if you haven't heard, let's kind of go over what this is. It's the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. And what do they look at, Greg?
Well, it's it's the United Nations Scientific Advisory Board is maybe something that people could like understand more. It's like the United Nations being like, okay, we need to listen up. So whenever you hear people talk about like, we've reached 1 degree of the world temperature above a certain level, what they're talking about is above pre-industrial world temperature. So it's like in the late 1800s, the Industrial Revolution happened, and really what happened is we started to warm the planet extremely quickly because of the way we were deciding to burn fossil fuels and make energy for ourselves. So when we say 1.5 degrees or 2 degrees above, we're talking about above like 1850s.
Reference. Yeah, exactly. In reference to like that point where it started to go a lot faster because our industries and capitalism and everything was booming all at once.
Yeah, and I think that's important to know. I think a lot of people like forget what that even means. So there was this big talk, I don't know, people would remember it from like 4 years ago, about the Paris like climate Accord is what it was called, the thing that Trump pulled out of. And they were all talking about 2 degrees Celsius. So 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial world temperatures is what everyone was freaking out about. But recently, a new study and paper in the UN, they got together and they were like, okay, if we actually get to 1.5 degrees above, which is going to be by 2040, so that's in a lot of people listening to this lifetime.
There's most, I imagine.
That's when we actually have to really start thinking it's going to be detrimental. Like most of the coral reefs are going to be gone. There's going to be so many people who are displaced when it comes to like climate refugees.
Like food shortages, wildfires, coastal flooding, drought, like a lot of these impacts that we actually are already starting to see today. They've just come out with a report that, by the way, there was 91 scientists from 40 countries who had analyzed 6,000 studies on these things and came to the consensus that, by 2040, even if we like take severe action, we can expect some really severe results. And that's why it kind of blew up. Like, we're not saying it's the end of the world by 2040, but these things are going to become more and more extreme at a rate a lot faster than what was initially proposed.
And I think that's what's important and why we're talking about this now. Why you honestly, if you're listening to this, need to be like 2040. I know that date.
It's 22 years
alive.
I bet some people listening to this podcast aren't even 22 years old yet. That's a whole that's going to happen really fast.
Phew. Okay. People, please don't stop talking about climate change in 2019. Talk to your government reps. Talk to your friends. Talk to your family. Act like your life depends on it, because it actually does. Okay, moving on. I notice a lot of times when Greg and Mitch post a cute photo together on social medias, we get flooded with things like, get married, you have to get married already. So we actually did an ep on gay marriage, and here is the current status on those plans.
What I want to say right now is that I think this is a bit of a hot take, because I am going to tell you, Mitch, that I do think that I might want a wedding.
That's a lie. You're lying to me. No, and my take is that I actually don't think we should get married.
Okay, so what?
Here's the tea, honey. Here
1, 2.
is the tea.
Make a sound of a door slamming, because I'm walking out. Storming out of here.
He's so mad. Oh my God, Greg is so mad. He just ran out.
And I'm back. Okay, what do you mean you don't want to get married, mother?
Well, actually, you're someone who exposed me to some of these ideas first. So I never had watched the show called Queer as Folk, and Greg is obsessed with it. And in university, you got me to watch all those seasons. And there was like a really succinct explanation of why I don't think that gay people shouldn't have the ability to marry. So I'll clarify that. Like, of course, I think any gay people who want to be married should.
Because that's about equality.
Exactly. But I do think, like, why do we need marriage? Like, it is not something that I think is necessarily that important. And this is a big if, because, to be honest, I don't really know the legality of it, but we're obviously common law. We've lived together for a long time. Like, we own a home together and that sort of thing.
And a dog, aka a child.
Yes, but assuming that the laws are the same for common law as like a full marriage, and that we have the same rights and the same protections and all that sort of thing, then I'm like, I don't need to subscribe to this like religious institution that I'm not even a part of just to feel like more accepted by society that in the first place has rejected us for so long. I'm so happy that many people get to enjoy it and value like weddings as an important thing or marriage as an important thing. But I'm like, I don't need a ring to know that we love each other. Like, isn't that also kind of weird? Like,
okay, so I'm going to go the complete opposite, and that I want a ring, okay? I want you to buy me a really, really, really nice ring. Actually, I want it to be like a really thoughtful ring. Like, I don't want it to be expensive. I want it to be like that you've like foraged. I want you to have to like go on a trip and forage it like in some really interesting part of the world and like get it for me. I don't want it to have like, you know, like capitalistic like financial value. I want it to like, I want you to fight for it.
What are you talking about?
My ring. Okay, the second thing that I want is a party. So that I'm trying to like okay, so
but I can't tell if you're being real. Like that ring thing can't be real.
It is. I don't want an expensive ring. I want a hard, challenging ring to find.
You want me to go forage you a ring?
Yes, root system from an interesting plant.
Okay.
I'm not kidding. So that hold on to that. But I guess if you don't want to get married, we'll talk about it later. Second of all, I think I do want like a party, which is the thing that like I wasn't sure that I wanted because I'm trying to like. So my 30th birthday is coming up, and I'm like really weird with birthdays.
Hint. He's like, and Mitch better be planning something amazing.
No, my point is that I've always struggled with my birthday. I'm bad at receiving gifts. I'm bad at receiving compliments. I don't want it to have to be about me, but there's something about like it being my 30th birthday party that makes me think people are going to get drunk and have fun. And I think for us, I don't want I don't want to put the ring on the I don't want a wedding.
So you just want me to forage for a ring for no reason.
No, forage for a ring, give it to me on my private time. We'll gaze into each other's eyes. And then I want like the wedding to be super like, oh my God, like I've never been to a wedding like that because like they didn't even get married. It was just like a party that we're all at with our friends and our family. Because like, for example, our extended families, like they don't always hang out. And it's like everyone has to come to a wedding the best they can. It'll be in Toronto. It doesn't need to be anywhere. We'll pay Duff's. There'll be chicken wings everywhere. And it'll just be the most fun party.
So you just want a party. You don't want a wedding.
But I want a party that everyone feels like they have to go to and have to have so much fun at. And then it's like if we get divorced, it's like less of a big deal because everyone's like, well, that was a really fun party. It's not like, oh, I don't want any of that like cheesy
ceremonious.
Yeah. So I want it to be weird because I don't want it to get weird with the families. Like I don't want my parents to like the nice thing about being gay is that you don't have to have a wedding. Like I feel like there was more pressure for my sister because that's like but parents and like family, they're always like, oh, they're gay. Like we don't like, is it weird to be even asked like
it's almost rude. They're like, is it rude to be like, when are you getting married?
You can just dodge it way easier. And like I think weddings can come with a lot of like stress of like like I don't want chicken or fish. No chicken or fish. You show up at 8 and you party. Even if you're my great aunt. That's what I want.
Okay, so you don't want a wedding.
I like it's so funny.
Marriage.
No, it's so funny
because also, do you differentiate between like a marriage and a wedding?
Okay, wait. Let me think about that for a second. Oh, I see. Okay. Oh my God.
Because like the wedding is the party, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
you're right. Because okay,
the wedding is the ceremony as well, but like the marriage is the thing that is after and forever.
And we're talking about gay marriage.
Yeah, but no, I'm down to talk about weddings and stuff too, because honestly, why are we going to spend this much money?
Oh, because it's going to be unforgettable.
So marriage for a lot of people is a monogamous union, but there are a lot of other amazing ways to be in a relationship and to be in love. So we did an episode looking at polyamory, and Greg sat down with his friends to talk about it.
Mitch and I have friends named Carson and Fabio who we love, and they, like us, have been in a long-term relationship. They've been together for 7 years. And recently, about 7 months ago, they started dating another couple named Silvio and Nico. So I actually got to sit down with Carson and his new boyfriend, Nico, to talk about how this all happened. So my first question is for Carson. So did you, before you started dating a couple with Fabio, like think, this is something I want to do? Had you talked about it?
No, not at all. we had briefly sort of talked about like sleeping with other people, and we had an experience earlier that year where we like hooked up with a couple, but dating another couple, no, that was never on our radar or like the intention.
What about you, Nika?
Okay, well, we had a threesome about a year prior, and then we had a fling around this time last year with like another guy from the US, and we dated him for about like 4 or 5 months.
Okay, so how did you guys meet? Because I was there. It was a Halloween party.
You looked amazing.
Oh yeah.
Better than Fabio and I did. We were dressed as handmaids.
Okay, so what about that night? I want to take us to that night.
Yeah.
We're there. We're in our costume. So what happened? Like, when did you guys start sort of noticing that, like, as a couple, you were admiring each other?
We went to the club that night, and we danced all together, and we kind of, like, switched partners.
So what was
we
that
danced. Like? I know for a fact Fabio doesn't remember this. And, like, for some reason denies that it's happened to this day. Nico doesn't really remember it either.
What?
But Silvio and I, like, we saw them on the dance floor. We approached them.
You and Fabio.
Fabio and I, yeah, we were dancing with them. We just started kissing, and then we swapped. And then Nico and Silvio disappeared, and Fabio and I kind of like laughed, and we were like, "Oh shit, we scared them off." And then just like we went about our night. And then I think like drunkenly that night I found both of them on Instagram, and I started following both of them.
Slid into the DMs.
And then the next day I woke up to a message from Silvio saying it was so nice to meet you boys last night, which I was not expecting.
Okay, so that's what started this potential relationship. Nice to meet you boys last night. Were you immediately on the same page? Like, this is gonna be something?
Well, I made like some comment like, "Oh, I hope I don't have to wait until next Halloween to see you."
Oh.
And then Silvio was like, "Well, you guys should come over." And so we had made a plan to hang out.
Let's fast forward to like 2 weeks after this incident. Let's talk about the first couple dates. What was it like?
Okay, the first date was me and Silvio had Carson and Fabio over to our apartment. And, like, we had to, like, take, like, maybe, like, 5 shots before. Because we were so fucking nervous. And then, yeah, they came over, and then we had, like, appetizers and, like, drinks, and we just kept talking about pop music all night.
It was so cute. Fabio and I we were so nervous to go over.
Did you guys have shots before, too?
Yeah, of course we did. Oh. Yeah, we also brought a bottle of wine, and they had 4 bottles of wine already, like...
Oh god! So you were both nervous. That's nice. Kind of.
Fabio and I, we talked about like because we didn't really know the intention. Like we just went into it blind.
Probably the same way that most people go into dates alone. Maybe like that nervousness, that apprehension.
We did talk about like what happens if they want to hook up.
Yeah,
and then
that makes sense.
Yeah, and
you're also 5 shots deep.
Yeah, so Silvio greeted us at the elevator, and he seemed so nervous. He was like
beet red.
He was beet red. He started rambling.
I broke a glass,
and then and then we came up into the apartment, and then Nico he like shatters a wine glass in his hand, and at that moment I was like, okay. We are all so fucking nervous. This is okay. And then we got there at like 7 p.m. and we just like talked
till like 2.
It was like the longest hangout, and I knew that like regardless of what had happened, these people are awesome, and I want to hang out with them again.
So okay, we don't need to get into sexual details, but let's just assume that things had fun being hands. As girls, we know how to have a good time. I want to start by talking about the way you talk to your like initial partners. When Carson, we'll start with you. Did you start talking to Fab about okay, maybe I want to start dating them? What does that mean?
Just like off the bat, we knew that like we really were into these guys, just like whether it was a friendship or something more. I don't even know if something more we thought about that immediately. We just knew that we wanted to hang out with them again and spend more time with them. Talking about dating, it never really was like a conversation. It kind of just happened.
So what about with you, Nika? Like, did you talk about dating before, or again, was this a similar thing?
No, it was just same thing as Carson and Fabio. It was like we had so much fun the first night. It was like, okay, we'll see them Saturday. And then Saturday came around. We had so much fun. And then it was like, okay, we'll see them on Wednesday. And then
we just kept making plans.
Then, we kept making plans. It was just like, going to concerts.
Hey, we got you concert tickets 6 months from now. And like, yeah, we just kept making plans and dates. And
so then did the 4 of you have a discussion where you went, okay, we're boyfriends?
It was like a few months down where we were just kind of like,
I think it was like
it was the depths.
Maybe
of
it was
winter.
like after, but we all went home for Christmas, and I think that's when we realized how much we really missed each other because we couldn't physically be around each other. But
yeah, and we'd been separated for like 2 weeks, and we were like, oh my God. It was like 2 weeks felt like 3 months.
Yeah.
It was like crazy.
And Nico sent this like really sweet message.
So cute.
He's like, I didn't think that my life needed anything more, but you guys are just like the spice.
Sorry, I'm literally like moved.
So lovely, so sweet. You can hear the rest of that convo on our Polyamory app. Okay, this clip comes from one of our most talked about debates. When someone says something problematic or crappy, do you call them out or do you call them in? We start with Mitch on his stance on calling people in, and Greg takes the position of calling out.
Okay, well, I first like to start by asking you, Greg, you don't have to answer right now, but when's the last time you changed somebody's opinion by calling them out? I feel like it's really, really rare because when people get called out, they get really defensive and they're not in the mindset, I think, to change their opinion. I want to start and clarify, I'm never in this argument defending anyone in the world who's like super obnoxious, or I'm not defending Nazis. I'm not defending people who are homophobic or transphobic. I'm talking more about people who are sensible people and aren't pure evil. Okay, so science shows that you can't change people's opinions with facts. You can't just yell at them. You can't just tell them what they did wrong. You have to appeal to their emotions and figure out what they want. And so vaccines is a really good example. If you can find a way to connect with someone and say like, hey, you're afraid of vaccines because you care about your kids. I also care about kids and my kids. Here's like a place we can relate. That's a nice way of calling somebody in instead of saying you're dumb because vaccines save lives. Calling out often comes from a place of ego and reaction, whereas calling in is more of a place of service. Like think of someone like President Barack Obama, or we're going to call him president forever. He was all about, steering the ship one bit at a time. You have to understand that everyone comes from a different place, and it's really hard, I think,
1 minute,
to expect people to go from, a mentality of 1950s to 2018 in seconds. Of course, all this only really matters if both people are willing to cooperate in good faith. But I honestly think that calling in requires a lot more compassion and patience. I think at the end of the day, like calling out is a good way to rally your own support. But if you want to change people's opinions, I think you have to call them in. Otherwise, what Donald Trump is doing is calling people out, and all it's doing is riling up his own base, as opposed to ever reaching over to like the more liberal side of the agenda or whatever and calling them in to say, here's how we can work together. There's
15 seconds.
Oh God, no. Okay, a 2016 study showed that door-to-door canvassing leading to 10-minute conversations could substantially reduce transphobia. It was effective regardless of the person or of the canvasser themselves was cis or trans, and there's been a lot of techniques developed around this. So that's all. I'll end my debate. That calling in is better. That was really disjointed at the end. I'm sorry.
No, that was good though. Honestly,
I have more points that we can. I was like,
you spooked me a little bit.
I was just debating in my head whether I should have more of a conversation about some of my points I wanted to bring up. So I'll end there. I'll let you get prepared for your call.
Yeah, no, actually,
debate.
no, that was. Oh, I don't. Hey, I'm spooked.
All right, so
I don't even know. I'm sick. I'm I'm feeling sick.
So, Greg, you think that your debate is that we should be calling people out. Are you ready to go?
Yes. Okay. So I think silence on any sort of subject is always going to give a lot more power to the oppressor. And I think I'm going to start with like a personal anecdote. And calling out is so important because the people who are being victimized in these situations are the ones who have to feel the pain and the burden and the uncomfort. When you get, for example, personally, someone says something homophobic to me, it really can scare me. Like recently we were on the bus and that guy, remember, he randomly was like, stay away from me, I'm not gay. And we immediately fell silent. I would have loved if someone could have stood up for me, because in those moments when you're being attacked, you are the one who has to take on all the discomfort. And if you don't say anything and allow the other people to feel uncomfortable, it's literally not fair and things aren't going to change. It happened again with me the other day when I was at a comedy open mic. And people made fun of me in like this weird way and like kind of attacked me for being feminine. And I was silent. And it's because in those moments when you're being attacked, it's so hard to come up with what to say because you're feeling all of those feelings that if no one is there to call those people out, sometimes you can't do it for yourself. And also, when it comes to someone like Donald Trump, we don't know him. We can't call him in. He needs to be called out publicly because a lot of the times the people in power aren't actually people you can have a literally have a conversation with.
Oh, whoops. You only have 40 seconds left.
What? Oh, my God. And it works. Think about Roseanne Barr, Megyn Kelly. These people have been taken away from their positions of power because of the way that they acted that was racist. And I don't think people need to be allowed to be in those positions of power if they act in those specific ways. And I think it's also found that it can, studies show, increase confidence. When women confront sexism themselves, they actually feel more confident.
20 seconds.
And being comfortable is the thing that I think is the most important. People who are doing the oppressing need to feel uncomfortable because they are making other people feel uncomfortable. And Barack Obama, our president forever, also is someone who, you're right, I think the only thing I look back on, and I'm like, maybe he needed to call people out more because, again, he was taken advantage of if you think of like the Supreme Court.
Done. Okay. Woo! Okay. There's still a lot to obviously talk. I think we both are just like, there's so many things to talk about. I want to address one of your points. And it's not that I don't actually disagree with it. So I think like this conversation is so nuanced, and
but we should so have you because there was a time in our lives where we would argue about this a lot because I would really call people out and you would be like, Greg, it's the wrong thing
because
to do.
I think it's contextual. So that's what I want to say. Like I obviously believe in calling people in, but I think some of the examples you gave are really good examples of when it's appropriate to call people out, and that's why it's like this debate is kind of a front for like I believe we should have nuanced conversations about things, and it's not one or the other. Like that bus situation, you're exactly right. When someone's literally in a moment of oppression, other people should call those people out, and I think calling out is especially effective when the person is in a position of mass power and can set an example for many other people.
So what is like? That's why
I think the problem is that we definitely do live in a call out culture, right? Like it's really fun to get the pitchforks online, especially, and like see these people who do stupid things and then make them blow up as viral videos and shame them. And in some ways, I think that's important. When we see awful things, we should show the public like this is not right.
And the public's only going to care about people who are in power. They're not going to care about.
That's not true. There's always random people all over the internet who are in grocery stores like accosting people, and I'm not even saying those shouldn't be shared. What I'm kind of thinking about is like oftentimes nowadays people get really called out for stuff that might have even happened like 10 years ago. And I'm still for holding people responsible and accountable and having them have to own up for doing and saying stupid things. But I also think back on myself and how much more educated I've become over the last 10 years. Like that's a lot of time. My parents have changed so much. Like when I came out as gay, my parents had a fully different set of beliefs than they do now, I think, about who gay people are, what they deserve, what everyone should believe.
But because they were called out by your existence, by you having to go up and talk to them and
right,
be like,
but
I have a
should
boyfriend.
they be called out today is what I'm saying. Because some people are getting called out today for things that they actually don't stand for anymore.
Such an interesting debate, calling in versus calling out. You can hear the whole nuanced conversation wherever you get your podcasts. The episode is called Liberal versus Conservative. It really is an amazing combo. So this was our first year doing this podcast, and it's been so much fun, and I have loved being a part of it. Greg, what do you think?
I freaking loved it. I love the pod medium. I love that iTunes said that we were one of the best podcasts of their year in Canada. I always do that. That's a big deal. Canada's a big, huge country of amazing people making amazing podcasts.
We have a lot of culture.
A lot of culture. Honestly, it's just been so amazing. As we said earlier, it's like
we did 2 live shows.
2 live shows at Just for Laughs, which is like a big deal. And yeah, honestly, like I just love that people are learning and like it, because what we wanted to do is try and make something that was entertaining and educational. I think we've done that, and as we said, we have so much fun doing this that we would do it whether or not people listen or not, and we're just happy that people are.
Yeah, so happy that you like it. Let us know what you want to hear in the new year.
New year, new us. We're going to glow up. We're going to do whatever you want. Tell us what you want.
Give us topic suggestions. We love hearing them. Use the hash note.
Oh, see, even that. New terms. Hash note.
Hashtag Sidenote Podcast, and let us know what you think. What you want to hear. We love to hear it.
Controversial topics, think of them, because that's what we're going to be doing all holiday. What are some controversial topics that we can... Every time me and Mitch have a disagreement, we're like, okay, do a pod about it. So me and Mitch need to have more disagreements. We'll do it. We will have disagreements over the holidays, as we all will with our friends and family.
We're wishing you a restful and exciting holiday. Come back in 2019 looking dewy and fresh.
Dewy and fresh. That's the new look. Okay, thank you.
Bye.
See you next year. Bye.